Hi guys, Craig here. Welcome to another edition of the podcast, Tell Craig Your Story. Today we'll be speaking to Hannah Roberts. Now, she's born in England, in Berkshire, and she has been in film, TV, and theatre for over 10 years now. And she's had some experience in LA. And she's been in a film clip with the band Home Wreck Band. She is also featured in Cycle Cat, Spiritual Contact 2014, Dream Lover 2017, Dragon Kingdom, Future Soldiers, 7 Days, the story of the blind man, and she's also working on some other TV miniseries which is set to come out this year. But before we go, please go to our website. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Tell Craig Your Story, and we're also on VK for our Russian listeners and WeChat for our Chinese listeners. There's also a link there. It tells you where Tell Craig Your Story podcast is streaming. We are on Spotify, Google Podcast, Deezer, and we're also on YouTube as well. So make sure you're subscribing to our YouTube channel and you'll be able to know when the downloads are available. All right, here we go. Hannah Roberts on Tell Craig Your Story podcast. Hi Hannah, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, doing good, thank you. Thank you very much for your time. What time is it now in England?
So it is now 10:08 in the morning.
10:08 in the morning.
Very
Right.
specific.
Yeah. So first off, I've been asking this question a lot lately. Tell us a bit about what's happening in England with the coronavirus and how you're staying safe, and is your family safe as well?
Yeah, so we're all in lockdown just like everybody else right now. We are about a week away from another review. So yeah, the government's going to review where we're at in about maybe another few days and kind of see if they want to give us more time in lockdown, or they're saying that they might look to remove some restrictions so that we can kind of go out and see a select few friends and family. But everyone's kind of, well, everyone that I know is adhering to the rules, staying in, staying safe, going out only for essential journeys. It's weird actually because my sister literally just moved house. So my sister used to live maybe like 10 minutes down the road. I know. So she's moved like 2 hours down the road now. And my mum actually lives in Belgium. My mum doesn't live in the UK. So she's been in lockdown for an extra 3 weeks on top of what we've done. So yeah, they're going a bit stir crazy, but it's all for the greater good. So
Yes,
yeah, we'll get through it.
that's true. And how have you been? How have you been keeping busy? Have you been learning new lines, preparing? What have you been doing in this period?
I've kind of really is, you know what, as much as it's frustrating and it's hard, it's kind of a blessing in disguise for, in the sense that you kind of get a moment to breathe. So it's been amazing to kind of take stock of, what are my headshots looking like? Where's my reel? Where can my reel be tightened up? I've just redone my acting CV to make sure that it's completely up to date and swap out headshots. I've been reaching out to my agent just to keep in touch. There's surprisingly quite a few castings online, which I wouldn't have expected there to be, but there's a lot of kind of like castings going on.
And tell me also about, did you have to cancel anything during this period as well? Did you have like movie roles, spots that you had to cancel?
So me personally, I didn't have any projects that were just about to drop. I had some castings coming up, so a couple of castings have been pushed back. So some self-tapes that I was asked to do have kind of been put on hold just for the minute while people kind of figure out where they're at. But I'm quite lucky in the sense that I wasn't about to walk on a set and have something be cancelled. But I know quite a few people that have had that done, and it's so disheartening. But the best part about it is it's not cancelled, it's just postponed. So I think we're going to see a really nice, vibrant acting industry when this picks up,
Yeah, definitely. And how is it different to do an audition online as compared to doing it for real in person?
It's, you know what, I love both. When you're auditioning in a casting in front of people, and you're sat there with the casting director and all the producers, and you walk in. Obviously, it's like being on stage. You can gauge the energy in the room, and the acting industry has this saying where they know if they want to take you any further, or if they're intrigued in you in the first sort of 30 seconds. So there's a lot more pressure in the moment in that kind of sense. But when you're doing it as a self-tape at home, and my old housemate, bless his heart, used to help me do my self-tapes all the time, it's kind of that extra pressure that you put on yourself, where you want to take it again and again and again. And, after like 15 takes, you need to draw a line under it and kind of just say, I'm going to like, the best one that I've done, because you start to nitpick yourself a little bit more than you would. So yeah, very different.
And do you think that this is like the way of the future now? Like, obviously we have the technology, so why don't we use it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
doing like online.
In terms of online filming and recording yourself at home, or in terms of self-tape castings?
Yeah, well, both actually.
Yeah, I mean, a majority of the castings I get are self-tape anyway. So self-tape really a massive majority of the casting process nowadays. So that's always fantastic, because if you get a call to say, look, we're interested in you, can you do a self-tape? There and then you've got access to your phone. If you've got self-taping equipment, it's great. If you've got a reading partner available, it's great. So that's always been a thing. In terms of filming from home, I always get a bit of anxiety, because I always wonder, like, is the background what they want? Is my house conducive to what they want? Is the sound quality going to be how they want it in terms of cutting it into what they're doing? But yeah, sure, absolutely. There's, maybe this has proven that might be a way forward moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. And can you think of another time where the whole entertainment industry has sort of shut down? Like, I can't think of another time that this has happened. Can you think of another time where this has happened before?
Not like this. Not in my lifetime, no.
No.
No. I mean, it's so sad when you go on Facebook and, your acting friends are posting about, oh, I was meant to be on set today, or somebody that had announced such an amazing opportunity that they'd been able to secure a couple of weeks ago, and they were meant to be on set that day. And it's just, as you say, it's not things have been cancelled, they're just postponed. But I think it's put a hell of a lot of pressure on the industry so far. I'm just intrigued and excited to see things pick up and see all these projects, get rolling and see all the opportunities get back up there.
Yeah, and I think everybody will start to appreciate, going out and traveling and, doing things, instead of taking things for granted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So instead of like, oh, I'll do it next time, or I'll do it next year, no, you do it now.
Yeah, I think that's actually been something that's really changed for me, in the sense that, like, if you're scrolling through and you see a casting and something that your agent hasn't sent you, you might be on Spotlight, you might be on Mandy, whatever it might be, you see a casting come up and they say, oh, we want a self-tape. And back when we were working, or like so many others, I have a day job, and I'd sit there and kind of put it on the back burner and say, okay, do you know what, I've not got time in my day to do that now, so let me finish what I'm doing, and I might put it off for a day or two. But it's amazing to have the opportunity now to just get involved and really get motivated and just do it there and then.
Definitely, I totally agree. Well, let's just hope that this thing goes away very, very quickly, and we can sort of get back to normal life. But I guess, like, everybody now is a bit more hygienic now as well, so that's always good. That's always good for the, and hopefully and hopefully we'll be able to. Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, I can't wait for everyone's, hard work to pay off. I mean, the work that the NHS are doing, the work that supermarkets are doing, the work that carers are doing, the work that every day people, whether you're on furlough or a job, everyone is putting their happiness and, their usual life on hold for something far bigger and far more important. And, I think everyone else will agree, we just can't wait for this hard work to pay off, so that, staying at home, we're doing it for a reason. Let's get back seeing our friends and family as soon as we can. That's
it, definitely. And hopefully there's some toilet paper at the supermarket as well, right?
You know what? There's so much toilet paper now. It's crazy. When this whole thing kicked off,
right.
you're going to empty shelves of people panic buying, and now you get down the aisle and you can barely move. There's just packs of toilet roll
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah, that's right. I've got too much now, so yeah.
No.
All right, so Hannah, film, television, theatre,
Mm.
and it says here that you've done this for over 10 years now.
Mhm.
How long officially? When did you first start?
Oh, I first started acting when I was 14. So yeah, I'm 31
14,
now,
right?
so a long time, yeah.
Right. So, going back to that sort of period, when did you sort of know that you were, this is what you wanted to do as a career?
I think, ooh, so when I started, I was about 14. You know, when you're in school and you kind of get handed like a play and you sort of read this play and you think, oh, I'm in school, I'd rather be out in the playground chilling out. Do I really want to sit here reading a play? And the irony was, I was like, yeah, I really got into it. I was such a shy kid. Like, I was such a shy
Right.
kid. I just didn't really have a voice. And then being in school, got introduced to these plays, and I absolutely loved having a reason to have a voice. So I guess by the time I got to GCSEs, so what, like 15, 16, I just kind of did it for GCSEs and just fell into it and got the bug. And yeah, ever since then, I haven't been able to stop.
Right. And what was so you first went into theatre, is that correct?
Yeah, I first went into theatre in school, and then I decided to basically find a drama school near to me to kind of enhance my skills, learn more about it. And that's
Yes.
when, yeah, we really focused on theatre and musical theatre and singing, which was great.
Right. And then who were your teachers there at the time? Was it just local people, or
Yeah, it was a local
was it
drama school.
someone that?
My first ever drama school
Right.
was a
And
local theatre school in the local area. And then I went to university. I went to Aberystwyth University in Mid Wales and majored in drama while I was there for those years. And then it was after that I decided that I had the theatre, now I wanted the film. So I decided to go to Red Roofs
right.
Theatre School. Yeah, and that's where I got the bug for film and TV. We had people come in from Radio 4 to do voiceover work. We had film crews come in that had worked on the BBC, directors coming in from the BBC. We had actors coming in that had worked on some amazing programs and movies to kind of mentor us, which was incredible.
And what made you want to get into that? You're saying that and you're also saying that you were a bit of a shy girl as well. So how did you overcome being that shy girl?
I think because it was something that kind of just spoke naturally to me, it
Right.
wasn't actually as hard as I thought it was going to be. So from going from being such a shy kid, and I was that kid that didn't even want to ask for a bill in a restaurant. Like that's the type of kid I was. When my family were like, "Han, can you go and get the bill?" I'd be like, "No, no, no, you're good, you do it." And yeah, I know. But I'd always been such a movie geek. I think like I'd always been such a movie geek. And when we were in school, got into GCSEs, I remember sitting there one day, and one of the movies that really stands out for me was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. What an incredible movie! And
Yes.
it's one of my all-time favorite movies, and it's the director is someone that I hadn't seen a lot of work from before that. I kind of just sat there and thought, you know what, this is just something so incredible. And then getting into plays and working on plays from different playwrights, I just kind of fell into it. It was something that came really naturally. I didn't even question whether I could do it or not. Obviously, when you
Yes.
get on stage and you're performing, it's extremely terrifying. But once you're in that zone, once you gauge the audience, there's nothing like it. It's almost as if you forget they're there. So yeah, it
Right.
wasn't really. It just came naturally.
So Hannah, you were talking about the theatre before, and you were saying that you had a bit of fear, a bit scared getting on stage. So tell us about how you overcome that.
So I think, honestly speaking, if anybody says to you that they're not at least slightly afraid of getting onto a stage and performing, they're a liar. But I think
That's
that,
right.
you know, any time that you get up in front of a group of people that you don't know is so intimidating. But I think for an actor, they describe it as being, and I've mentioned before, like the bug, you know, when when you do something you love, you get into the rhythm of it. There's nothing quite like stepping out onto a stage, feeling the fear, and then all of a sudden it's this crazy experience where you gauge the situation and you gauge the audience, and you get to a point where you're so immersed in what you're doing, you kind of forget that they're there. And
Yes.
it's just it's unlike anything you can describe, honestly.
Yes. Yeah, it's an interesting thing too. Like I play music, and I still do play music.
Nice.
I've played it for a long time, but every time you go up on stage, it's always like that little, you know, I get more nervous before the actual concert or a gig. So, you know, once I see the rest of the band, it's like, oh yeah, cool, you know.
Like chilling with your mates on
before,
stage.
yeah, but thinking about it beforehand, it's like I've got to make sure my equipment's right. I've got to make sure that everything's all good to go, power, you know. So I guess you have that as well, like trying to remember your lines and all that. That's another thing that I always like to ask is how did you develop like being able to remember so many lines? You know, how do you do that? Is there a trick that you have, or?
So, honest answer is, I don't know how I manage to remember my lines most of the time because I'm one of those people. But I have I have a photographic memory. I always have ever since I was a kid. And so for me, learning lines comes in two parts. It not only comes from physically kind of envisioning in your head the words on a page for me personally, but it's also understanding why you're saying them. So part of learning your lines will always come from the character development that you do, from the subtext that you're trying to understand, from the person that you're playing opposite. When you're learning lines and you're researching a character, you never just look at your lines. You always want to be looking at their lines to understand why are they saying that, what's their intention, what's the subtext between the situation. From that, you get this 360 view of the entire situation, the motivations, the reactions, and it builds a story that you just immerse yourself in. Tie that in with a photographic memory, and for me, that's literally how I do it. I played May in the Accrington Pals a couple of years ago, on a theatre tour, and I had a monologue that was about, I think, 4 pages long, but probably about 3.5 pages long, this monologue. And my biggest fear before getting on stage for that one scene was that I was going to forget my lines. And because you get to the point, especially when you're touring around, where you're doing this every day and every night, and you understand her so well that even if you forget yourself, you can kind of understand where she's headed, so you can pick yourself up again. But yeah, that's probably the most challenging thing I've ever done, is learn a monologue of that size. It was huge.
Yeah, definitely. And I just, like, you know, I'm struggling to remember one line, let alone 4 or 5 pages. So going back to that, you know, that time, you know, when you were sort of developing and learning your craft, what did your parents have anything to do? Were they sort of in the entertainment industry as well? And what did they think of when you said, "Hey, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be an actor"?
So no, they're not in the industry at all. They're extremely supportive people. But you know, they were not in the entertainment industry, never had been, never had kind of experienced it. I think, you know, my mum had done like the odd play here and there when she was younger, but never really got into it. So it was more, and honestly, it was more of a confidence thing when I was a kid, because I was so shy as a child. And I kind of came home from school one day and was like, "Mom, I've read this play, and I really enjoyed it, and I got a big part, and I got to speak in front of a room full of people." My mum kind of was so impressed by the kind of like sparkle in my eye that she encouraged me to keep going. And then we were just sat down one day, probably, you know, when I was about 14, and she sort of said to me, like, "Han, you know, do you want to look into this more?" And we did, and we found a drama school, and they just saw me thrive as a person. And, you know, it's almost like I found something that had been missing for quite a while, and I found a voice that I didn't know I had. So they were very supportive of me kind of investigating that. And then from there, it was kind of just like, yeah, do you know what? Whether I do this full time professionally or just on the side of whatever I do, it's always going to be a part of my life. And yeah, they were just really cool about it.
It's always good to have those supporting parents sort of, keeping an eye out on you.
Yeah.
And whereabouts did you say that you grew up in? Oh.
So I'm from Bracknell in Berkshire. So probably about half-hour drive from London. Yeah.
Okay. And tell us what it was like growing up there. I've never been to England before, unfortunately.
You've
I really
never
should
been
go
to
there.
England? Oh, you're missing out on a
No, I
lot of
haven't.
rain.
You know what? It was actually on my list to do for your summer.
Oh yeah.
Was to go to Europe for 2 months and do some online work on the way. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like I'll be able to do that for this summer.
The irony.
So yes, I had to come back to Australia. Actually, I actually live in Shanghai, so of all the places,
Amazing.
that's where it
Yeah.
started. So,
well,
so
Australia's on my list as well. So.
Oh, right. So you've never
100%.
been. So tell us what it was like living in growing up in is it Berkshire?
Berkshire. Yeah, Berkshire.
Berkshire.
Pretty standard. Made a really great group of friends. Went to a primary school in Bracknell, with some really cool kids, some great teachers. Typical kind of family. Lived with my older sister, my mum and dad. Got into acting with some local drama schools that were maybe in different counties, but met some amazing people there. Finally decided to move away when I went to university. I actually went to university when I was 17 instead of 18. I'm a bit of a geek. So I managed,
wow.
Yeah. So I went to university.
Yeah,
well, and went to Mid Wales, and as much as I missed home, I'm not really the biggest home bird in the world. I'm one of those people that if I'm doing a project abroad or just visiting or traveling abroad, I never miss home that much. I'm kind of one of those people where I'd be quite happy I miss the friends and family for sure, but I'm not really a homebody.
Yes, like only going from what my friends have said, it's not the sort of warmest weather in England as well. I'm always sort of watching the Premier League over there as well. So every time I turn it on, it's either raining or overcast, and the people have got like four layers of clothing on. So I'd rather be on the beach.
We're not blessed in the way that you guys are really so much with with the hottest weather, although we have beautiful summers and we have cold winters, but with climate change, it's kind of been changing the last few years where the weather, even this last right. So I was sunbathing in the garden last week and I got sunburnt, and the weather over the last 2 weeks has been absolutely beautiful. So for being isolated stuck inside,
because getting a bit of a tan.
Yeah,
because I'd usually see, like, with my friends, they'd just go, oh, it's 28, 29 degrees. It's, it's so hot over here,
You're like amateurs.
Yeah, that's right. We wake up and it's 29 degrees here.
See, I really want that though. I would love that. I love the warm weather, and I love a beach. And I want to learn to surf as well. That's on my list of goals. So I really feel like I should come to Australia when this is all over.
Come on, Hannah. Yep, I think that's destiny.
Exactly.
So speaking of coming to Australia, I've noticed that you actually played a Australian reporter.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So how did that all come about? And how was it trying to learn the Australian accent?
So I actually have, ever since I was a kid, I've had a thing for accent. So when I was a kid, I would walk around the house and I was that kind of crazy kid that, you know, your mum would ask you a question and you answer her in like a South African accent, or you go off on a tangent in an Irish accent or something like that. And she'd kind of just look at me and be like, although that's really annoying right now, I'm kind of impressed. So I kind of just always, I don't know why, I'm just, I love accents. So this role came up, and the story, I don't know if you know anything about the story of, he calls himself Blind Dave, right? So his name is Dave Healy. He's a Brummie. He was the first person in the world to run the 7 marathon blind, and he's kind of like a national treasure. And so I saw this role come up, and it was the role of Susan Parks, who is an Australian reporter. So he's over in Australia and he's running with his running partner and he's training. And this is a true story. An Australian reporter managed to catch him running one day and tot it up next to him in her heels, and started interviewing him while he's running, while he's training. And I read this backstory and I thought to myself, dear God, I can do that. So I already knew that I could do an Australian accent. I knew that there was a bit of comedy to it, and I don't usually get the opportunity to play the comedy. Because of my typecast, I always get the villain. So I sent in this self-tape. Right. I sent in this self-tape. I got my cousin down to record with me because no one was around that day. And I'm running on this self-tape in some heels, and I'm doing this Australian accent. And their feedback to me was that they loved the accent. So they hired me because they felt that I could do quite a good job. So yeah, that's how that came about. It was amazing.
I did actually see it. I saw
Oh,
the
you
video
did?
of it, you know, the part in the film,
Yeah.
and you were in your, like you said, you're in your high heels and you're running, and, you know, can I interview you? You know, what's it like
Yeah.
being in this?
It's amazing because he, you know, the character breakdown was she's kind of, they obviously adapted the character for the film, right? So in no way were they saying this about the original reporter, but what my character breakdown
Yeah.
was that she was kind of self-involved. She had no idea, the original reporter actually had no idea who Dave Healy was. So she was going to interview someone, but she didn't
Right.
actually know who he was and what he did. She just knew that he was here to run one part of the 7 marathons. So at the end, she's like, oh, you got Blind Dave across your vest. Like, what is this? And he's like, well, my name's Dave and I'm blind. So my name is Blind Dave. And she just kind of like, it's almost like she stood there with egg on her face. She doesn't know what to say. Just brilliant. It was one of my favorite roles that I've played.
Yeah. And is that true? Like at the end there, where you were, you know, bend over, you know, puffing, you know,
Yeah.
are you like that normally, or
Am I like that
surely not?
what, in terms of running?
Yeah, in terms of running, yes.
Oh, I love to keep fit. No, I love to keep fit.
Yes.
So I wouldn't class myself as a runner. Running is probably one of my least favorite things to do. But I used to be very overweight as a child. So I think that's probably contributed to
Right.
part of the reason why I was quite shy. But I actually was quite overweight as a kid, and so I ended up losing 5 stone. Not sure what's that in pounds? What's
Wow.
that, over 60 pounds? Is that right? Maybe
Well, you know
something
what?
like that.
You know what? Actually, I actually know 6 pounds as well. No, 6 stone as well. So,
No way.
yeah. But for
Amazing.
the people who don't know that, 6 stone is what? That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a
How
lot.
many
It's
seven
life changing.
kilos?
I
Either
don't
way,
want. Do you know what?
that's an
I don't
amazing.
honestly know. I feel like I'm about to break out my calculator.
So,
But
so then saying that, so what was the motivation? Was this before you were doing like the theater, and or was this just you know, I'm gonna do it for myself?
so it was after I started acting. So when I started acting, I was really overweight, and then I got into acting and I found my voice and got this confidence. And then I continued to put on weight. I got to my heaviest probably when I was about 16, I think. When I was about 16, I was probably the heaviest I've ever been. But I was a lot shorter then, so I couldn't really carry it off as well. You know, and it was unhealthy for my age. You know, the doctor was telling me that it was really unhealthy. So I guess maybe having done the acting kind of gave me the strength and the confidence to say, who do I want to be? And it was really the thought of going to college and university and being unhealthy and not feeling the best that I could be just motivated me to just say, do you know what, enough. I don't want to live this lifestyle anymore. So I lost the weight, and
Yeah.
then it's only maybe in the last 5 years that I've really got into health and fitness, understanding my diet, understanding my body, and now I'm somebody that takes it quite seriously but really enjoys it.
Yes. And do you have like a strict sort of diet, like especially like if you have a role that you have to play, do you go on special diets? Do you have someone, like a personal trainer, or do you just do it by yourself? How does it all work?
So, I mean, I will always go by what I'm comfortable with. So I'll never, I've never been asked to lose weight. I've never been asked to gain weight. I've always kind of gone for roles that are within, my abilities. So
Yes.
I did a movie a couple of years ago now, Order of Kings. I did a movie there where I played a warrior called Seema, and I did a self tape, and they said, yeah, we want you to play this woman. We want you to come down and do a sword fighting day, like a sword fighting workshop, to help with the casting and kind of see your abilities. And I sort of looked in the mirror and
Yes.
was like, I am 90% sure that I'm going to have to show my abs. I say abs, I didn't even have abs at
Right.
that point. I was like, where are they? And I was like, I'm going to go to this training workshop with sword fighting experts and fitness people. So I already knew some of the people that were going. And I was like, I want to be able to contend with them. So I got my butt into the gym, and I was in the gym nearly every single day. And I put myself on a low calorie diet to try and shift a couple of pounds that I'd put back on, to try and not to try and lose weight or change myself, but just to be the best version that I could be. And it paid
Yes, of
off.
course.
It paid off. I got the role. I learned new skills. I felt comfortable on camera. And from then, I went back to a friend of mine. His name is David Chulz. He's incredible. He is a PT. He runs his own business, and he's been a friend of mine for years. And I just went to him and said, look, these are my goals. Can you help me? And he said yes. And so I work with him on and off at the minute to kind of keep me in check. And so I do have a routine. I definitely have a specific diet that I follow most of the time.
Yes.
I'm quite strict with myself, but that's just because I suffer quite badly with allergies with food. So I have to be quite strict.
So do you have that? I've seen diets and from athletes. Do you have your 1 day a week cheat time, or is it strictly on a diet?
I mean, for me, I'm just one of those people that is always watching what I eat, and I think that comes from being
Mm,
so overweight in the past. My family are the first people to say,
right.
Han, you need to ease up and chill out and just eat a burger. But I'll always eat. If I want chocolate, I'll have it. I never, unless I've put on weight, over Christmas, and I've been stuffing my face and I need to lose a couple of pounds just for myself, I'll always make sure I'm eating right and I'm eating healthy for myself. If I want a treat, I'll have it, because at the end of the day, if I lived not eating treats, I'd go crazy, because food is my life. I love food. I'm a
Well, you got to
piglet.
treat yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
and you want to go out with friends and have a good time, have
Exactly.
a few drinks as well. So and just keep it modified. Don't go too much.
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
so so that's good that you've got a good bunch of friends and you found your personal trainer and you're on a sort of strict diet. So it says that did you actually live in LA for a little while, or did you
Yeah.
just go there to visit?
So I went to university, studied drama, and I met this incredible friend of mine who she wanted to go and do film acting. And so I had already gone to Red Roofs and done a postgraduate in screen acting, and I sort of came out with new skills, and I came out with one day we're chatting and she said to me, Han, I want to go and study with the New York Film Academy, and they have a course out in LA. And I sort of said, you know what, I've already got my show reel, I've done my studying. I want to go and investigate what the industry's like. Everyone talks about LA and what it's like, but I want to go out and do it. So I went out there just for a
Yes.
couple of months, to go and live with my friend Lisa, and we got an apartment together in North Hollywood. Actually, we lived opposite Warner Brothers studio. You could see the back lots from our
Oh,
balcony.
nice.
Yeah, it was insane. So she went to school over there, which was great because I had the chance to mix and meet her friends too and kind of get involved in that side of things. But I had the opportunity to go and network. So I basically got a non-working visa, so they wouldn't give me a working visa. So I couldn't actually go out and
Oh,
yeah, so I couldn't actually go out for the amount of time that we were there and actually work. But it didn't mean that I didn't go and audition. I still went because I thought to
right.
myself, I was looking at castings and I could see that there were auditions going on. And I thought, take the opportunity to learn and experience and train. So I'd make sure that I went to castings and networked, and I met some incredible people. It was great. Not what I expected, actually.
So yes, it's just funny. I have a friend here in Newcastle as well,
Yeah.
and he's doing the same thing. He's doing short films. He's doing, TV commercials. He's been in a couple of films, Hacksaw Ridge, and then he did the same thing. He went over there to the US to try and, pursue his acting career, and he said it was like he was like a small fish in a pond, and it was like
Yeah.
it didn't matter what he did previously. He was just this new guy that just like, you'd go to an audition and there'd be hundreds of people lining up, where here in Australia there'd be not so much. So what was your experience like going over there at the start?
I honestly, I enjoyed every second of it. I thought it was fantastic because I think also because I took the pressure off myself going out there. So for me, I was going out there to experience the industry, network, and kind of just take a holiday with my friend, but with a purpose. So I found it really interesting that, everybody, I met people from all walks of life. So I met music friends, producer friends, directors, actors. It was an amazing array of talent and people that I had the opportunity to learn from and to network with. Castings were huge.
Yes.
So London castings can be quite big as well. I mean, with a London casting, a few times I've walked into a room of like anywhere between 20 and 50 people, and you kind of sit there and it's up to you whether you allow yourself to get psyched out, whether you look at the other people and compare yourself, or whether you really focus and just put your blinkers on and make sure you're there to do a job. And I remember I found this TV casting, and I was like, I know I can't. I was going home in a couple of weeks, and I thought, I know legally I won't be able to work out here, but I could go home, speak to my agent, and get a working visa. So there was a way to be able to work out there. So I went to this TV casting.
Sure.
Oh my God, there were hundreds of people there. There were so many people there. And I was like, it was just a walk-in casting. I hadn't been invited, which is why it was so big. And I just thought, holy moly, this is like, this is big. And I kind of just took it as an amazing experience. You had loads of girls the same age as me, but like all looking different, all with different incredible skills, beautiful looks. Oh my God, just different looks and a different kind of like spark about them. It was really intimidating, if I'm honest. It was intimidating, but I kind of chose just to roll with it and learn from it. And it was getting in front of the casting directors was great because I was there with an English accent, and it was something different.
Now, did that work? Did that work to your advantage?
I mean, they do. When you get into a room, you don't want to sit there chatting to the casting directors, too much or asking questions. But the fact that they were like, "Oh, you're from England, are you?" I was like, "Yes, I am." I knew that for that reason that they might remember me. I didn't get a call back from that particular one, but it was a great experience, yeah.
Yes, and I'm the same. I've been there a couple of times. I've got a really good friend that's working with Disney over there at the
Nice.
moment. He's doing really good for himself. So every time I go to LA, I sort of go and visit him, and when he's not working, we go and travel and do things. But yeah, my first impression of LA was sort of like yours, like going to like a bar and sitting down and meeting all these people, and like, oh yeah, I want to be like a musician, or I want to be a makeup artist, or I want to be an
Yeah.
actor, I want to be in theatre. And it was just so inspiring. And
Yeah.
I really found people from actually born in LA. They were from all these other cities, Charlotte or
Mm.
Chicago, or just coming from all walks of life to. But it was so inspiring to see all these people just like having a go and just you know what I mean? Did you get that same feel as
Yeah.
well?
Oh, I thought it was extremely inspiring. We would go to a bar, and Lisa and I would go in, and we would literally sit at a table within a few hours having a few drinks. We'd make friends with other people, or we'd go to a theatre show and we would make friends with some people at the theatre show. We go to a bar afterwards, and it was such a kind of cosmopolitan, incredible situation. Everyone was from a different country or a different region,
Yeah,
or different states. They all had such a cool story to tell. They all had amazing goals, and everyone just kind of inspired each other, and everyone kind of lifted each other up in that situation. It was really, really nice. And with LA, there's loads of aspects that I didn't realize. Like, you know you watch on TV what LA's like. You see Rodeo Drive, you see like Hollywood, and then when you go there, I don't
yes,
know whether you've spent a lot of time in downtown LA, but downtown LA is not spoken about so much, but it's so rich with culture and so incredible.
exactly.
They had the art walk open, excuse me, and one evening I had the opportunity to go to this incredible art walk in downtown LA, and it was all the artists on the street brought their work out, and you had all the dancers were out, loft parties were going on, there was a burlesque
Wow.
show, all the little cafes were open with like all the bakeries with their cupcakes. It was one of my favorite moments in LA. Was really just experiencing that. It was fab.
Yes. And do you have a particular story there in LA that you can share in
So
your time?
we You know what? Actually, we had a friend, a really good friend of mine, who was living over in LA. Well, actually, she was first a friend of my friend Lisa. I met her through Lisa. And one day she said to us, "You know what? I want to take you to Melrose because there's an incredible restaurant here that does brunch." And I mean, who doesn't love brunch? Brunch is the best. So
Yes.
we
Good one.
bit of brunch. So we went to Melrose to go for brunch. And as we're sat having brunch, this woman is sat there who has got this incredible aura about her, who's there with her two assistants. And I can hear her talking about films. And, we just somehow got chatting across tables about, you guys are from England, what are you doing here? And then she started talking about her experiences. And it turns out that it was a woman called Julia Vidal, and she was there with a couple of her assistants who were also from England. So we got chatting. They were the same age as us, and she was, I believe, one of the producers for Much Ado About Nothing with Al Pacino. And we just got
Mm.
we just got chatting, and you know, there's kind of a stereotype of certain areas of the world, like London, where it says people aren't so friendly and people don't really talk to each other. But I found completely the opposite. Within 10 minutes, she was saying to her assistants, let's get these girls invited to the barbecue. Do you guys want to come up to the hills and we'll have a barbecue? And before we knew
Yes.
it, we were invited to this incredible barbecue in the Hollywood Hills at this gorgeous mansion
Yeah.
house with an array of people from some of the coolest production companies who had worked on some of the biggest movies, who were all just sat there serving burgers, having a beer. And it was just one of those moments where you think, these people are so kind and so knowledgeable about the industry, and it was just awesome. It was just one of those moments
Yes.
that, had we not just gone for a typical, like a chilled out brunch, we wouldn't have got that experience to network and speak with an array of such awesome people. That's always stuck with me.
What an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And I have something similar. Like we were going out, just trying to find a place, and it was so cool to have somebody from LA to show me all the good places. Anyway, we went into this small little bar just to have a drink, and then all of a sudden, he was working with Disney. All the directors of Walt Disney in Hollywood come in and sat down, and it was just like, hi, I'm the
Wow.
CEO. I'm the CEO. And these people like were just normal human beings, and
Mm.
they were all just having drinks and just talking about the week that was, and apparently
Mm.
this is their secret little place that they go to have a drink so they don't have to get bombarded by or the actors and actresses wanting to get anyway. It's just really really nice, and I
Yeah.
was the Aussie guy. They just wanted me to talk because they love the accent, and I was like, can you just keep talking, Craig? And it's like, okay,
Can
hi,
you say shrimp on the
I'm
Barbie a couple of
Craig.
times?
Yeah. How are you? How are you, mate?
Amazing.
Shrimp on the barbie.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, LA. So I also read that you spent a little bit of time in Texas as well. Now, I haven't been to Texas as well, but tell us that experience as well. Did you have roles there? Did you have
So
parts there?
I've not actually been to Texas. So what it was is I having gone to LA, I made a few contacts that were from Texas. And what they did was they turned around and they said, look, we've got a film. It was a horror film. And they were like, we need to go back to Texas, but we want you to have one of the roles in this film. And I was like, okay, cool. And so what they did was they sent me the script and the character breakdown, and they said, you can film this from wherever you are. So I got to work on a Texas production from LA and actually did a kind of webcam self-recorded role where I actually had my friend read in. I played the character, and then they obviously dubbed over his lines and cut me into the film. So it was people that I'd met from Texas that then offered me a role in their movie, and I got to work in their production. It was very cool.
Yeah, right. And speaking of that as well, did you go to anywhere else in your time in the US besides LA? Did you get a chance to go to San Francisco, San
Hmm.
Diego?
Yeah, so I had a couple of friends who were traveling at the time, and they came to LA to meet me, and we jumped on a Greyhound and just basically went to San Francisco. And it's one of my favorite places. San Francisco was unbelievable. We did all your typical kind of fisherman's wharf, sorry. We went to
Yes.
Alcatraz, which was unreal, and grabbed some chowder, and went and met up with another friend of mine who lives in San Fran, who I went to school with, and she showed us around all of the cool bars, all of the districts. So yeah, we went there, and then I also got to go to San Diego, which was amazing.
Yeah, San Francisco's got definitely a good vibe. Very open, lots of culture to it, and lots of artists that live there as well. That was a very very cool vibe. I think, and San Diego had the very Australian. San Diego had that very beach, surf sort of vibe as well. So I really liked that whole area. So maybe one day I will get out there. So do you have plans? Do you have plans to go back there in the future, or are you happy to stay in England at the moment for the time being?
Oh, 100%. I'd love to go back. Love to.
Hmm.
I have a lot of places on my list of places that I want to go. And I definitely want to go back to LA. I want to go back and see some of my friends over there. And
Yes.
my agent actually represents artists in America as well. So it would be good to go back over there and have representation with him over there. And definitely want to go
Right.
back to San Fran. Definitely. And I've actually spoken to my sister about that. My sister actually flies for Virgin Atlantic, and so she goes all over the place. But San Francisco is one of her favorite places, so I'm going to try and hitch a ride with her the next time she goes.
Oh, nice,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
And did you get a chance to go to New York as well?
You know what? New York is one of the places I've still never been, and it's on my list. I desperately want to go to New York, so I might try and get my sister to take me there as well.
So let's go through some of the things that you've done. Actually, before that, do you have a choice between film, television, or theatre? That's a tough
Ooh,
question.
they're all so different. You know what? It really depends on the project. So I love theatre. You know, I grew up in the theatre. Absolutely love the experience of being on stage. Film and TV work is very, very different, but I love it. At the moment, I'm focused on film and TV. But if a role came up in theatre, that would be great too. I can't pick. I love
Yes.
them all.
And we are talking about it a little bit earlier. Do you prefer being the villain or the hero?
Oh, the villain.
Why?
I
Why is that?
love it. I love playing the villain. I just love it.
Yes.
I always feel like not I you know what? I would never say it's more fun to play the villain, but I always just feel like there's so much more opportunity to explore depth with a villain because you've got
Yeah.
what you see on the outside, you've got their motivations behind it, you've got their backstory for the reasons why they are the way they are, you've got the different people that potentially have harmed them. There's this whole array of emotion and backstory that you can create from that. Not to, obviously you can and you do with a hero, but there's just something a little bit extra spicy about playing a villain that I just personally love. Yeah.
Definitely. Fair enough. And your first like TV or movie, I do believe, if this is correct, 2011, Friend Dinage Murder Casebook. Is that correct?
Oh, Fred Dynage's murder case book. So I first got
Was
into
that your first
films.
one? Your first TV
So
film? Yeah.
no. So I started films when I was at uni, just kind of doing short films and films for students. And then when I finished, I actually got a role on The Hotel Inspector. And I believe The Hotel Inspector was before Fred
Oh.
Dynage, I think. And they kind of, no, it wasn't. You know what? You are right. It was Fred Dynage's Murder Casebook was my first TV role that I did. So that was on the Crime and Investigation channel. And there was an episode that was being advertised called The Brides in the Bath. And Fred Dynage over here is somebody that did the news, Meridian News, but he's also like a historian and presents documentaries. And
Right.
there was a role for a character called Alice Burnham, who was a victim in the case, and she was drowned in the bath. So it was a story of this guy who married, I believe it was in the early 1900s. He married women and then kind of got their insurance, got his name on their life insurance and their dowries and things like that. And then he murdered them in the bath. It was like a signature move.
Oh my God.
So I got to play Alice Burnham, and that was my first ever like proper TV thing. It was great.
Wow. That is amazing. And then you went from there. You did the Murder Casebook, and then it's a Cycle Effect in
Cyclical
2012.
Effect, yeah, Cyclical Effect. That was a really
Yes.
cool film. The lead character in that was a young lad, and he was young. I think he must have been about 10 years old, maybe 11. And he was a lead character on
Right.
set with a lot of people on set being directed by this really cool director. And this young kid was so confident and so talented. I just kind of remember looking at him thinking, oh my God, if only I was like you at the age of 10. Like he was really, really cool. And that was a really fun movie to do. Really cool cast. I'm actually still in touch with some of the people that I worked with in that movie now. So yeah, that was great.
Right. So they obviously he didn't have the fear and the stage fright that you had when you were a teenager.
No, he had no inhibitions whatsoever. He was just this fantastic, ball of energy who was so talented. And his everything from his presence to his listening skills to his ability to take direction and his ability to concentrate at that age was just astounding.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is amazing. And then you got Dream Lover, you got Dragon Kingdom,
Mhm.
The Order of Kings,
Yeah.
Future Soldiers. So 2018 was a very, 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 very busy year. So is this where it started to sort of pick up for you at this stage?
Yeah, I think so. So 2017 was really when I started to get more into British independent films. So
Right.
British independent films, I absolutely love. I love those. They're films that, all films come straight from the heart, but they are usually directed, produced, they're usually funded by people who have such a passion and such a keen interest in the project that working on them is so fulfilling, and you get to meet people from all walks of life. I think it's an incredible industry, and the talent that's in that industry is just great. And I had the opportunity to work on such an array of different films, from sci-fi. So Future Soldier actually never got taken forward. So we did the trailer and we did a couple of bits for it, but it never actually got taken forward, which was a shame. But the other
Oh.
movies did. And I got to play some really cool characters, and I got to meet some amazing people. And yeah, it was busy. It was good.
So with the short films in the UK, are you able to do this as a full-time basis, or do you need another sort of income to sort of stay alive?
So I'm not doing it on a full-time basis, and a lot of the people that I know that are doing British independent films as an actor, some of them are some of them are lucky enough to be able to do it full time, which is incredible. But a lot of people that I know are
Yes.
similar to me. I'm actually in marketing as well as doing acting. I've got a full-time day job as well. I would love to do it full time. That's actually
Oh,
my goal, is to be able to do it full time.
yeah, right. Well, I guess you got to do that until that it comes. But stick with it. You'll get there, Hannah. You'll get
Yeah.
there. I,
Yes.
and then and then you'll get your visa for the US, and then you'll be able to
Yep.
go back and forth, and then you'll get your Australian visa, and you can learn how to surf,
I can
and
learn how to surf.
get a few rolls down here. Well, you got the accent down pat as well. Come on,
They'll think I'm a
it's all
local. It'll
working
be
out.
fine. Yeah.
That's right. It was Dragon Kingdom in 2018, and then we talked about the 7 days, and it was you played Susan
Susan
Parks. Is that what?
Parks. Susan
Yeah,
Parks.
yeah.
Yeah, that was honestly one of my favorite movies that I've done so far, and even the final film that came out is just, I don't know if you've seen the full film, but it's absolutely amazing.
Like I said, I've only seen your part of the film.
I'll send you the link. I actually
The
have the full
important
film.
part.
I'll
The
send it to
important
you.
part.
I'll send you the full film. Honestly, it'll have you. It's funny. Dave Healy actually does a cameo himself. It's so funny because Dave is blind. They actually give him a cameo as a pilot, which is just
Oh.
amazing because he sat there in the cockpit and he's like, can't really see where we're going. It's just amazing. And
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
yeah, just some awesome people. I'll send you it. You should watch it. It's really good. It'll have you crying as well. It's sad.
Not a tearjerker. Oh dear.
A bit of a tearjerker. It's really great, but
So
yeah.
I also saw. Oh yes, I can definitely. I like those inspiring movies.
Mm.
They're based on a true story, right?
Yeah, yeah. He's so
Yeah, right.
inspirational.
I love those feel good sort of movies. I wanted to ask. I also saw that you were involved in a film clip as well. Home Wreck Band.
Oh, Home Wrecked. Yes, I was in their music video.
So yeah. So tell us about that.
So
How did that all come up?
Home Wrecked are an amazing up and coming band. They are, I don't even know how I would classify their music, kind of like indie rock. They are such a cool group of lads. They're from up north in the UK. And I saw this casting come out, and they were looking for a female to play a lead role in their music video. And the song is called Nothing Like You. So the film is actually about a guy that comes home from being out, and there's lipstick on his collar, and the
Uh-oh.
music, right? I know. I sort of like did this, and I was like, I thought she was pretty tame, for the reaction that I would have would be far worse than the reaction that she has in this video. And it's basically about this couple that just are not getting on. They're not getting on well. They are having arguments and problems. She doesn't trust him, and one of the main lyrics in it is can't stand to be around you, I'm nothing like you. And it's a really cool song. It's a different kind of song that isn't like the rest of their album. So when I heard it, I was like, I want to be a part of this. So they cast me, and I got to go down and shoot for the day. And yeah, lots of crying, lots of screaming. It was really hard, but so good.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. What a great experience. And
Mm.
in talking about that, what sort of music are you into?
I'm into everything. I love music. Music and movies for me are everything. I will listen to anything from Hans Zimmer down to some rock, some indie, Chart. I love the Chainsmokers. I love Rag and Bone Man.
Oh,
Rag and Bone
nice.
Man is one of my favorite artists. He is just amazing. Yeah, I like everything.
Excellent. Yeah, right. We might have to get that the home rec band on the podcast actually.
You
See if they're
should.
interested.
You should.
Yes.
Yeah, contact them.
I
They're great.
will. Well,
They're a great group of lads.
I'll check them out. All right. And do you go to gigs much, or you go with your busy schedule?
I try. I try basically to go to gigs when I can, not as much as I'd like. I like to go to theatre, love to go to the movies, and I love a bit of stand-up. Stand-up is amazing. So all of those things I try.
Nice, nice. Well, I'm also trying to get. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's an English ventriloquist,
Ooh,
Nina Conti.
Nina
And yeah,
Conti.
she's been very hard to. She's got like a talking monkey,
Oh
and
my gosh,
I,
yes.
and I saw her on the comedy show a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I got in contact with her management, and we're trying to work something out. Did you ever want to do that as well? Are you a funny person as a comedian?
I like to think I'm hilarious. No, I'm a big goof. I am one of those people. Like I always I always joke about being that girl that's got a face like thunder. I've got one of those faces. My resting face is one of those faces that looks like I'm constantly irritated, but I'm genuinely not. I'm actually quite a friendly person. But yeah, I'm just a massive goof. I love comedy. I don't often get the chance to do comedic roles, but when I was a kid, I always used to do, like I said, accents, but I also used to do impressions. Me and my sister are just so silly together. Like me and my sister are like a comedy duo, just the two of us. So
Uh,
I'd love to be able to do more comedy and kind of get that more into my
yeah.
show reel and get that more out there, because they are the best roles. They're great.
So was your sister a part of the acting and theatre as well, or she took another route?
So my sister is the model of the family. She's
Oh,
she's
right.
amazing. Yeah, she's amazing. Um, she does modeling, and she works with brands basically to promote their clothing. And she's done some incredible photo shoots. She even did some work on Towie a few years ago. She did some extra work on Towie, which she really liked. But since then, she's kind of honed more into to modeling, which she's doing really well. I'm so proud of her.
And is there anything that you've collaborated with? You've done something together with your sister?
So not yet, but she's recently just started collaborating with Six Silk. And I sort of said to her the other day, she got this order through for this incredible tracksuit set, and I was like, I'm going to borrow this off you. And she was like, just order your own. So I went and I ordered my own. I ended up ordering like half of the Six Silk website, and I was like, right, when I come down, when the isolation is over, I was like, we're going to do a twinsies post on Instagram. And she was like, for sure. So you never
Yeah.
know. You never know. I might get pride of place on her Instagram one day.
And it also said that you could play. It says here you could play a British actor, an
hmm
Irish actor, and a French. Is that a part of your family, or
hmm
is that just you're able to play that character?
So it's a bit of both. So we always have this running joke in our family that we don't know where we're from, and about 90% of that is true. So um our family, our heritage goes back, but exactly to where it goes back, we're not 100% sure at this point. So what we do know is that we've got Irish in the family and we've got French in the family. So as much as I am, as far as I know, very Caucasian, it's great to know that being so dark, I've got the ability to be put forward for, and my agent puts me forward for Hispanic roles, for French roles, for European roles. So it's nice to know that I'm not just able to play Caucasian, but I can actually play other nationalities. And with accent, I can do that quite well.
An Australian accent.
An Australian accent, yes.
So let's sort of wrap it up here. So what does the future hold for, where do you see yourself going, Hannah? What roles do you see yourself in the future? Tell us about, what's up and coming for you after the pandemic.
After the pandemic. So I'm using this time to really make sure that my toolkit is as up to date and shiny as possible for my agent and for me. As soon as those roles come back up, I'm keeping in close contact with my agent to make sure that we're ready to go. So really, for me, the only way is up. So I'm feeling so positive about the future. My goal is to be utilizing my accents more. So I want to be playing different nationalities. I want to be doing more commercials. Which I've said to my agent would be an amazing opportunity to get more into commercials, which would be great. And I'm actually looking to try and tip the balance where the day job, obviously it needs to be there, but I'm going to put every piece of my heart and my soul into acting, and that's where my heart is. That's going to be a life change that I'm making this year, which is a very scary thought, but so exciting, and I'm ready. So, yeah, it's going to be good.
Excellent. Excellent. No worries. And is there any sort of promotion, endorsements, anything you want to, any of your social medias or any upcoming events? I do see that something's come out recently, the re-up. Is that come out only this year?
Yeah, so that's
maybe you want
to
promote that.
Yeah, so the re-up
Has it come?
So the re-up is a mini TV drama series, which is currently available online. It's incredible. It's kind of like, I guess the best way to describe it is kind of like a UK version of Power. It's really urban, it's really gritty, it's really real, and the people working on it are amazing. An incredible opportunity to play a police officer. It's a series. Yeah, it's a series that 2 episodes out now, and you can catch them on YouTube. If you go on YouTube, you type in the re-up, it's one of the first things that'll come up. It's just really gritty and really real. I don't want to say too much, so I don't want to give it away. But it's exciting. It'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Episodes 1 and 2 are out now, and episode 3 is just about to get filming, so it's really exciting.
Great. And what was it like, just quietly, what was it like playing the role of a police officer?
I loved it. I kind of just got on set and just sort of, it kind of scared me how much I just kind of walked straight into the role of a copper. I was like, yes, it was so comfortable and so cool. And, I was lucky enough to, so I feature in the 2nd episode, and I was lucky enough to be given the time by the writers to have a really cool backstory. So when you see me in it, you'll see me having a conversation with my partner who I'm there on duty with, and there's kind of like a secret love story going on. So there was a lot of depth to take from her. It was really nice to be given that time and opportunity. So I loved it.
And what preparation did you have to do to do this? Did you have to sort of go into any sort of police department, or did you just sort of naturally did it yourself?
No, so we didn't go into any police departments or do any shadowing, but there was a lot of preparation in terms of speaking with the director on who the character was, what were her motivations, what's her backstory. I got given the script ahead of time, had some time to actually speak to some people that I already knew were in the production and get their vibe on it, and get their take on the piece as a whole. And then they actually went and they rented the costume for the day, which was actually police uniform, which was amazing. And just kind of got there, had a great pre-read with the guy who was opposite, acting opposite, kind of just got to it. It was great.
Wow, that's great. And I love how it's all natural. You didn't really have to prepare much, or you said you did a lot of preparation, but also natural to just go in and sort of do those sorts of things. And again, with the Australian role, the Australian reporter, you sort of did that pretty natural as well. So very good, Hannah. You're definitely showing your talent there. So, and where can we see your social media for our listeners?
So if you go onto my Instagram, is probably the best place to catch me. My handle is at Miss_Hannah_Roberts. I know that's quite a formal handle to have, isn't it? But you can catch my IMDb links on there. You can catch all the latest work that I'm working on. You can see my show reels there, just to catch what I've been doing.
And let's get some roles for you in Australia as well. Come on.
Let's do it. If anybody
right.
wants to talk about any upcoming roles.
So all the roles are, like you said, in the link there in her Instagram page. Definitely shows, on her vacations and behind the scenes of her movies and all of her roles. So definitely jump on there and go and have a look and follow Hannah. Thank you very much this has been absolutely great. I'm sure we could talk for another hour or so. But I really do appreciate your time coming on. All the best for the future. Yeah, come back on another time, all right?
I'd love to. Thank you so much for having me. It's been amazing.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Thank you, Hannah. And remember, come to Australia.
Yeah. I will. Thank you so much.
No worries. Okay then. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. So you want to try that one more time?
Let's try it again. Third time lucky.
Try it again. Oh, you're going to be a professional at this answer.
Oh, God. Do you know what? Nah, if we're going to talk about fear on stage, then we'll, let's be honest, like, you never get rid of it. So that's fine. I'll give it another go.
So what was it about? Okay, so you're scared. Okay. So speaking of being on the theatre, Hannah, how did you overcome? Sorry.
Oh God.
Let's try again. We're professionals here, professionals.